Sup, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're continuing our James Bond preparation marathon with the 16th film in the series and final outing from Timothy Dalton. It's License to Kill. From what I understand, Dalton was supposed to do 3 Bond movies, and his last movie was actually supposed to be GoldenEye, but because so much time had passed between this and that, he had gone on to do other projects, and that's understandable. But he will most definitely be missed, because for me, he was an instant fan favorite. It didn't take several films to warm up to him. It took just one, because he took all of the best parts of each Bond before him, including Lazenby, offered a little bit of seriousness to the equation, and he ultimately made it his own, and it was unforgettable, all of which was true in the previous film, and it's even more true in the sequel because we finally have a glimpse of humanity, of grief, and in general, Bond's somewhat vulnerable here. And when you think about James Bond vulnerable, most people will probably think about Skyfall, and I would say he's much more vulnerable in that, and Skyfall's much more well-made all around, so people will most definitely think about it. But License to Kill shouldn't be ignored, because up to this point in the era of classic James Bond, this was probably the movie with the best and most grounded story. They changed the formula, which had to be avant-garde for them, but it worked out in the end. Let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, avant-garde, favoring or introducing experimental or unusual ideas. License to Kill puts James Bond on a revenge spree after witnessing the attempted murder of his CIA friend Felix Leiter and the mauling of Leiter's newlywed bride. MI6 is against personal vendettas and suspends Bond and revokes his license to kill. But that doesn't stop him, as Bond goes rogue to exact justice on something very close to home. This film has even more of an impact if you've been watching from the very beginning, but it's not actually necessary. That being said, if you have seen every Bond film up to this point, you've also seen On Her Majesty's Secret Service with George Lazenby, and spoiler alert, if you have not seen that one and hope to one day see it, I'm going to spoil it. James Bond gets married, and something horrible happens to his newlywed bride. So obviously this is personal because, Felix is a good friend, one that we've seen since the beginning, since, Sean Connery's days. But it's even more personal because it mirrors his own tortured past. And as great as some of those classic actors were in the time period those films came out in, Timothy Dalton felt more appropriate for a revenge plot. Plus, when his license to kill was revoked, that instantly made him physically vulnerable, which stacked onto the fact that he was already mentally and even emotionally vulnerable, making his actions in this film one of absolute drive and purpose, something we haven't really ever seen from James Bond, which gives me yet another reason to love Timothy Dalton in the role and hate the fact that he could only ever play it twice. Both George Lazenby, who played it once, and Timothy Dalton, who played it twice, did amazing jobs in this role and deserved so much more time. And they make me that much more mad at Roger Moore, because he was always just so silly and ridiculous, and he had the most movies playing Bond than any of the others. It's really frustrating, but License to Kill is slightly flawed because on the flip side of the same coin that has a great meaningful story, you have a lot of stuff that's not that memorable, like spy gear, villains, chase scenes, action sequences, and the like. Everything that makes a James Bond movie specifically. All of that was fine, don't get me wrong. I mean, there was one short sequence where James Bond is hanging off the bottom of a seaplane, and that's pretty breathtaking. And one of the spy gear that Bond uses reminds you of something that Q gives Bond in Skyfall. But other than that, pretty much everything that physically happens in the movie will likely be forgotten in the long term, which is unfortunate because I really do very much enjoy this movie and appreciate the fact that this was really the first time we got to see a human side to James Bond. So I can't thank Timothy Dalton enough for providing that side to Bond. Let's take a look at the final score from an unbiased vantage point. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff in here that I both like and found to be somewhat forgettable at the same time. I liked the writing, I liked that it was meaningful, but a lot of everything else was neither here nor there for me, like the visuals, editing, cinematography, or most of the music. Everything was fine enough, but nothing stood out to me as immaculate. That unbiased score is 76%. However, I have so much respect and admiration for Timothy Dalton and this film specifically, so my bias score is quite a bit higher at 88%, averaging everything out to a final score of 82%. 82 out of 100 possible stars, granting License to Kill with a letter grade of B-. It's definitely not bad. I originally scored it slightly higher because of how I felt about it overall, but you also can't ignore that it's a bit imperfect as far as memorable moments go, and as far as technical, behind-the-scenes stuff goes. I mean, take that as you will. Guys, the next Bond movie I review will be GoldenEye, so make sure that you don't miss out on that. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this review, because there's always more like it coming out. Hit the subscribe button and bell to be notified when I come out with my review for GoldenEye, and until next time, guys, peace!